Now they tie up this series in what was like, I think, a throwback to the 80s and 90s, probably more 90s because the 80s actually had a lot of scoring. The 90s, it was like 90s basketball that we were watching. I feel like I saw like a Pistons-Pacers game from like the 90s breakout with it being 92-87. It was 17-8 after the first quarter, but OKC gets it done. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 25 points in the contest. Not the greatest basketball game. Nobody's going to submit this one to the Hall of Fame, but a really compelling game. I think has a lot of questions, and the biggest one for me is Nikola Jokic on the Denver side, who now has back-to-back bad games in this series despite scoring 27 points in the loss yesterday.
I mean, that first quarter, Femi, was just like painful basketball. They combined for 25 points, I think it was, or something like that.
It's exactly the right number.
Yeah, 17-8 or something. There you go. Yeah, right there. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, 17-8 at the end of the first quarter. It was ugly. It was one of those games, and the broadcasters, Mark Jones, Jay Billis, they kept alluding to it, right? That like both teams, especially Denver. I mean, how fortunate are they that they only scored 8 points in the first quarter, but were only down 9, right? Because both teams were shooting so bad from three-point range. That was a big game, though, obviously, for Oklahoma City. You felt like the only chance Denver had to win the series was winning that game yesterday, going up 3-1, getting at least three cracks at one more game to win the series, but getting that one more home game with a chance to clinch. Now it's 2-2. It's a best of 3. OKC's back at home. They're going to be double-digit favorites in potentially both home games that they play. And, you know, there's been a lot, Femi, a lot of people are talking about how the Nuggets and especially Jokic just look gassed at this point. I mean, they played 7 games in their last 13 days, right? So you had the Clippers series go 7 games, and then obviously they play every other day now in the OKC series. And the problem with Denver the last couple of years is they don't have depth, right? And, you know, a lot of these teams pretty much are playing like 7, 8-man rotations, but certainly Oklahoma City and Cleveland and Indiana and Boston. I mean, these teams, they have some really good depth, which is why, you know, a lot of those teams are probably going to make it to the Final Four. They're going to play in the NBA championship. That was the biggest problem with Denver. Obviously, their defense has not been good this season, and firing Mike Malone and moving on right before the playoffs as well. But just outside of you know, their starters, they just don't really have a lot of depth. And Jokic has really struggled to shoot the ball from the field in this series, and him and Murray are asked to play 40-plus minutes every single night. And the longer this series goes, the more that it favors Oklahoma City because they swept in the first round. They had the much easier series, and they have much more depth. They're the younger team. So that was a must-win for Denver last night. Now that it's 2-2 going back to Oklahoma City, Femi, I think this series is pretty much over. I think that this series is done in 6 games. So I'm sticking a fork in Denver. It sounds like you might feel a little differently. And again, they do have the 3-time MVP. These group of guys have won a championship together. But that was one of those games. It's like tonight for the Knicks. If the Knicks lose tonight's game, I don't think they win the series. Like, I don't really see how they win the series. Like, it is a must-win game for the Knicks tonight. That's the way I felt about Denver yesterday. So that just a tough loss for Denver, especially considering, you know, they were up double digits there late in the third quarter and looked like they were going to win that game.
So I won't say that it's over. I do think that OKC wins the series, but for me, with this series, I felt like, okay, as long as Denver takes care of business in Game 3, this will be a long series. Now, we're at least guaranteed 6 games. I wouldn't be shocked if we actually go to a 7th game because, like, Jokic is still the best guy in this series, and at some point, like, I don't think he's going to be going 7 for 22 the rest of the way. Like, he was bad yesterday, missing layups, missing point-blank stuff, just never really looked like he was in rhythm offensively. I don't know if it was OKC and their depth kind of bothering him or what was going on, because like you mentioned, with the lack of depth on Denver's side, 8 points that they had off the bench. That was it. Like 8 bench points. The rest of it was the starting 5. And I think that Jokic, based on like how easy he's able to get these looks, he just wasn't knocking them down over the last couple of games. Even in Friday night's Game 3 win, that saw Aaron Gordon knock down the big jump shots. Like, that was the more so team effort than just on Jokic. But Jokic is still going to have one of those like Jokic type games. Like, that's still in the realm of possibility. And if that's out there, I think that's a game that Denver wins. Heck, yesterday, if Jokic is just average, Denver wins the game. he was bad, like legitimately bad to his standards. 7 of 22 is not Nikola Jokic type numbers. He's one of the most efficient offensive basketball players that we have ever seen, and he went 7 for 22. If he's just okay in the game, Denver wins and takes the 3-1 series lead. So I don't see that big of a margin between these two teams. Like with the Celtics and Knicks, I see a big margin. Boston's clearly better. But with this series, the more I've seen these teams play, the more I think that the Thunder are better, but it's not by that much, or at least in this particular matchup, they're not able to exploit it by a wide margin to where I think we get another good Jokic game still left in us, which means I think that's a game that Denver would win. I think we're going 7. Now, I think OKC will win it in 7, but I do think we get that 7th and decisive game.
We could. I mean, you make a good case about Jokic, right? But, I mean, the problem for me, Femi...
He was pretty damn bad yesterday. He was awful.
He was. I mean, this is 2 straight games, though, where he shot 32% from the field, you know? I mean, he was 31.8 yesterday. He was 32 in Game 3. He was 37.5 in Game 2. So outside of that Game 1 where he went nuts and had 42, whether it's the matchup, whether it's the fatigue, whatever it is, you know, again, if it was a one-time thing, okay, maybe 2 games, but 3 games where he's shooting like 37.5% or lower from the field, like you said, very un-Jokic-like. I agree. He's too good where he is probably going to have one more good game in him. They might need 2 games, Femi. They might need all 3 the rest of the way. So, again, I think going back to Oklahoma City and trying to win a game in that building is going to be really tough. We saw how good Jokic had to be in that game. We had to see how OKC had to collapse down the stretch to give Denver that game. They had to do, it was almost like watching Duke and Houston, right? Like everything that they had to do to lose that game, Oklahoma City did. So it was just one of those cases. So I think the Thunder in that building are going to be too tough to beat. Now, could I see Denver winning Game 6 back at home? Sure. I think they could. Do I see them winning a game, though, in Oklahoma City, Femi? I just don't, right? And look, they have the best player in the planet. They have the best player in the series. And he was so good in Game 1. He could be that great again in Game 5 or in a potential Game 7. I'm just not willing to put money towards it or bet on it. So I like the Thunder in 6. I could see it happening in 7, but I think they win the series.
Yeah, I think the way that I'm betting this series is Thunder in 7. It's plus 175 at BetMGM. Thunder to do it in 6, minus 115. So that's certainly the favorite outcome. But Thunder, like in the distance, plus 175. I think it's a good bet to make. And then, like, if you get to that 7th game, and if you get a little bit weird about betting against Jokic in the Game 7, you can obviously hedge at a pretty big price since OKC would be a big favorite in that 7th game.